also a factor, very, very important factor. Pay the farmer the right amount of money, then you'll see, he will perform. And that happened, maybe Sajal will remember, 2011, we had farmers paid very well.
I'll correct you there, Shadreck. You have not had all that heat, so you were on the receiving side of it, so you were not part of it.
I was on the other side of the scale.
Answer that.
You were ginning at the time.
I was growing, technically. So I think, Joyce, we need to understand it in two ways. One is that, first of all, when we talk about Zimbabwean seed, it's a GMO-free cotton. So I think you as designers, when you used a locally made fabric from locally grown cotton, you should also keep that in mind when you are selling that it is a GMO-free cotton, which is very difficult to find in the world, generally speaking, because all the so-called considered to be good quality cottons, they are all genetically modified cotton, first of all. So it's a tip for you whenever you go out there and want to sell and have something different than anyone else. So that is one point for you. Coming back to the pricing, I think pricing is not the issue. The biggest issue of cotton in last 10 years have been the problem of farmer not seeing cotton growing as a business. For him, I get free seed, I throw it into the field, I throw it, I don't throw it, irrespective, I will get it again next year. I am only taking that bag of seed because I get free fertilizer with it, I get free pesticides with it, which I can then use on my maize crop, which then takes care of me for the whole year. So if you see the pricing model and the prices paid in the recent past, you will be shocked how much losses all the ginners have been booking in their books. But because they have already invested into the crop, they have no choice except to buy it. So the fact is not correct where you say that the prices are not paid are not right. If you really want to compare that year the dollar was paid for the cotton, the international prices were $2. Today the international prices are 70 cents, 80 cents, and the prices paid for the cotton is 50 cents. So if you really see the relationship between the prices paid locally to the crop versus the international standards and the prices, they are reasonably paid very well. Because some of these prices are ultimately at the end of the day internationally driven. You and me really cannot have a bit of say. I was reading yesterday the floors open for tobacco. People are already crying that the prices paid for the tobacco on the first day were low. But ultimately at the end of the day, someone who is buying it has to also export and sell and realize profits out of that. So I think it is important that it's a good forum where we all are talking about this basic thing so that we all understand that ultimately at the end of the day, whoever is doing whichever business, you guys being designers, you doing your business, me being textiler, they being clothing manufacturers, if we stop looking at our venture as a business, then we'll be nowhere. And the same applies to the farmer also. He cannot just have it for the sake of having it. Yes, fine, if I am getting it for free, why should I not take it? But at the end of the day, if you can then also take care of it, you may make more money out of it at the end of the day.
I think that's an important, I think that's an important point. I think often sometimes when we also speak about creative business, we speak a lot about the creative and what needs to be done on the creative side, but we also forget that the business aspect should also be equally as important. So creative comes with business. It's not creative, it's creative business. I wanted to ask Thandi this question. I just want us to maybe brainstorm ideas for a bit. When it comes to maybe designers taking the next step from having a boutique to now working as a manufacturer, there's always one consistent maybe issue that reoccurs, and that's the issue of funding. Sometimes, oftentimes manufacturing is not cheap. I wanted to probably, I can open it up to the floor. Maybe we can also think of ideas of maybe how the designer, the fashion creative can also be involved in the manufacturing, if it's collectively or etc. Just wanted to hear the whole panel's perspective.
Okay. So first of all, you need to put into consideration flexibility, that you're now venturing from just being a designer to now getting into production. So it starts from the mind, of course, and with the business plan, like what we mentioned earlier on. You cannot just wake up and say, I'm now venturing into production when you don't have your business plan in place. There's a lot that goes in. Like you said, you need capital. I know it can be hard to raise capital, but you can also have a collaboration, like we said again earlier on with the factory, where you can actually have a partnership that they can produce on your behalf, and you do your sketches and training together, and then you take it from there. Sorry, can you repeat the issue of funding again?
So I think there wasn't a correct answer. It was just to give you an idea on how probably creatives can bypass the funding issue and get involved within the manufacturing.
Okay, bypassing, I think the best is to have a collaboration with the factory.
Yeah.
It's more of kind of a semi-sponsorship.
Issue.
And like I said, it starts from the head. You have to have interest in production and stop thinking on designer level.
100%.
And also, what I wanted to say was, I think we, as creatives, we have to adjust our mindset that this is a business. And just like how Nancy at the side of the road or has got a shop at the corner of the road, and she needs to approach a bank with a business plan, and if they need security, she needs to produce the security. It's the same thing for us. So we mustn't look at ourselves as if there's something extra special about us and people should just be running to us with funding. No, we have to run and structure our business just like any other business.
True. As a seasoned professional, what maybe structures from a very basic level do you think creatives should put in place if they're going to be taking their business to the next level?
I can ask you, how many designers are present today? If you can just lift your hands. Okay. How many have registered their organizations with the Register of Companies? So starting there, you find that if we're in a bigger group, you find half of us haven't actually registered with Register of Companies. And so when there's a funding opportunity, let's say there's a bank that's giving out loans, I now have to go through the whole process of actually registering my company instead of me having my company registered already, because I'm looking at this more as a passion and not really must pay me money, that must send my kids to school, that must buy my house, and that must buy my to move out of my mother's house and buy my own house through this business. How do I structure it for me to turn over so much money a month for me to be able to do that? Because we are not excused because we are creatives. We are judged like everyone else. So we need to run our businesses just like everyone else.
Amazing. Sure.
I also wanted to just add a small point to what Joyce has said. You know, there's also personal attributes. Good personal attributes. What I mean there is just having the ethics to work and do it right. Record keeping. As you sketch your design, whatever comes in your head, right? Capture everything. Literally, capture everything. Have your own archives opened up, which 5 years down the line, you can go back to. It will point at your journey to success. Now, if you get an idea, brainwave today, and you don't capture it, because you don't get those brainwaves every day. Sometimes it could be once every 3 months or once every 3 years. Yeah. But capture everything. If you woke up in the middle of the night as you were going to the bathroom and you had, light bulb moment, capture that, park it somewhere, develop the idea, and it becomes, you know, money at the end of the day. So these good personal attributes, you know, working on your own personal organization, right? You know, I work with engineers at the factory there. Some guys, they're welders. They've got very coarse hands. Not literally, but you see the product of their work. Another guy will work on exactly the same piece of metal or angle iron, but you should see the neatness. It's all in the hands, right? So having those attributes, it also helps. These are basic principles in any business.
Okay, amazing.
I'd like to add something. We've got the Fashion Council of Zimbabwe. Fashion Council of Zimbabwe is actually a member of the Zimbabwe Clothing Manufacturers Association. I'm not sure how many of you fall under ACVAZ, but if you do, it's actually an added advantage for you to actually get acquainted with the manufacturing factories that we have in Zimbabwe, of which we've got about 94 operating factories at the moment. I'm sure out of 94, maybe 20 can be your best friends right now and assist with your production when you scale up to production level.
Amazing. Before this, yes,
Yeah.
sure.
I think earlier itself, Joyce has mentioned that when you go out of your boutique, CMT is the best way to go before you start investing. Because you also want to try the market out and make sure that, yes, you are a right fit and you now want to invest into your business. So I think there are opportunities. There are a lot of establishments, like Thandiwe has mentioned, who are open and will always welcome if they get any additional business, because most of us at this point in time are working below our, very well below our capacity level. So I think at this point in time, this is the right time if anyone has got business and an idea who they want to convert into business, which can easily be done with that partnership.
You heard it from the man himself. So before this, the panel started, I engaged in an interesting conversation. We're discussing, with one of the members in the audience actually, we're discussing about partnerships in the creative sector. When through the 10-minute conversation, we ideated a program where year on year, a designer would be selected. It would be a competition. Then a designer will win this competition, and they'll be part of a program where they get to develop their own textiles, turning it into a national event. All the organizations also involved in this, and this would also help us start conversation on having unique textiles that are unique to Zimbabwe.